So, I want to start our exploration today by having you just picture a scenario that is honestly probably uncomfortably familiar for a lot of us.
No, I'm sure it is, yeah.
Right. So imagine the scene. It's exactly 6 o'clock in the morning.
Ugh, the worst.
Yeah, the room is still completely dark, right? And suddenly your alarm clock just lets out that harsh, unforgiving electronic blare.
Just absolutely shatters the quiet.
Exactly. It's a sound that's literally designed to trigger a biological threat response, so you jolt awake.
Right, there's no gentle transition there.
None. It's an immediate spike of cortisol. And then you swing your legs over the side of the mattress and your bare feet hit the bathroom tiles.
Oh, and they are always freezing.
Freezing. It's that shocking, immediate cold that travels straight up your spine.
Yep.
And almost instantly, I mean, before your brain has even fully booted up to, like, register what day of the week it is, you feel it.
The dread.
Yes, that heavy, familiar, just dense knot forming right at the bottom of your stomach. So you're standing there in the dim light of the kitchen, waiting for the coffee machine to finish its sputtering cycle, and you are already scrolling through the banking app on your phone.
Which is never a good idea at 6 a.m.
Never. The blue light of the screen is glaring in your eyes, illuminating a balance that it makes your chest tighten.
Yeah.
And the coffee finally pours. It's lukewarm, and honestly, it tastes bitter.
But you drink it anyway.
Do you drink it anyway, standing right there by the sink? Because you need the artificial energy. You need fuel to rush out the door because, the day demands it.
The sensory details of that morning routine, I mean, they paint a remarkably grim picture. But the crazy thing is, that is the baseline reality for a staggering number of people every single morning.
It really is.
We are talking about millions of individuals waking up to the sensory shock of the cold, the bitter coffee, and this immediate, almost involuntary descent into, like, survival-level anxiety.
Just bracing for impact.
Exactly. It's a state of perpetual bracing for impact.
And that state, that bracing, is really the core challenge we're unpacking today. Because it creates this massive source of cognitive dissonance.
Right?
You look at your life and you know you are putting in the hours. I mean, you're enduring the brutal commute. You're grinding at the office. You're managing a side hustle in the evening.
Doing all the right things.
Or attempting to, right? You're trying to force a change in your circumstances through sheer, unadulterated physical willpower.
Yeah.
It feels like you're running on a treadmill of effort. You are drenched in sweat, completely exhausted by the sheer output of energy. But when you look down at the console of your life, the needle barely moves.
It's infuriating.
It is. Your physical circumstances remain stubbornly, infuriatingly identical. And yet, you look around and you see these outliers.
The people who just seem to get it.
Right. People who seem to navigate life in an absolute fast lane, highly lucrative opportunities just seem to, magically fall into their laps.
Yeah, they appear relaxed, almost immune to the friction of daily life.
While you are out there battling for absolute every single inch of ground.
Exactly.
So we're utilizing a stack of really fascinating materials today, ranging from some conceptual physics papers to cognitive behavioral studies and even financial psychology journals.
It's a really eclectic mix.
It is, yeah. And we're using all these anonymous sources to figure out why the world operates like a rigid, unyielding machine for some and, well, a playground of fluid possibility for others.
And the tension between those two realities is really the foundation of our entire analysis today.
Yeah.
Because the papers and studies we are synthesizing, they offer a profound and, frankly, a pretty jarring answer to that discrepancy.
It shook me up a bit, I won't lie.
Right. The central thesis proposes this radical question. What if the reality you are frantically chasing down that treadmill actually already exists?
Wait, it's already there?
Yes. What if the underlying mechanics of the universe dictate that the game isn't about physical effort or hustling harder or grinding your bones to dust?
Okay.
What if it is entirely about tuning your internal frequency?
That's a huge shift.
It's a massive shift.
Yeah.
So our mission during this session is to examine what really appears to be a forgotten blueprint for reality creation.
Okay, I love that.
We are going to explore the mechanics of shifting away from a paradigm of frantic, exhausted physical action and moving toward a state of internal energetic alignment.
Which requires basically a complete teardown of how we perceive cause and effect.
Entirely.
So if you are sitting there listening to this, perhaps sipping your own lukewarm coffee right now, settle in with us. We are going to examine some concepts that fundamentally challenge how we measure our own effort.
Yeah, grab a seat.
Right. To kick this off, we have to look at a mathematical premise in these papers regarding the illusion of the physical world.
Yeah, and the materials introduce a staggering perspective on what we actually consider real.
Because we're so wired for the physical, right?
Exactly. Human beings are evolutionarily wired to obsess over the physical environment. We fixate on the stack of paper bills on the kitchen counter, the exact square footage of our apartment, the bumper-to-bumper traffic on the morning commute.
As stuff we can touch and see.
Right.
Oh,
We treat those tangible items as the absolute totality of our existence.
sure.
But the conceptual physics outlined in these texts suggests that this physical world, the domain we fight so hard against every single day, accounts for a microscopic fraction of actual reality.
And the number they give is wild.
It really is. We are talking about an estimated 0.0001%.
Okay, I want to pause and isolate that number because it fundamentally alters the landscape of this discussion.
Yeah, let it sink in.
0.00001%.
Yep.
The implication there is that the car sitting in my driveway, the physical structure of the building I work in, the actual paper currency in my wallet,
All of it.
all of those tangible assets constitute a fraction of a percent of the total operational system.
It's almost nothing. The assertion here is that the vast, overwhelming majority of reality, over 99.9%, is non-physical.
So what is it then?
It operates as energy, consciousness, mental framing, and unmanifested potential.
Wow.
But because our biological senses, like our optical nerves, our tactile receptors, are exclusively locked into decoding the physical plane, we fall victim to this massive sensory illusion.
We mistakenly believe that this tiny, hardened fraction is the entire pie.
Exactly. And consequently, we expend 100% of our physical and emotional effort trying to manipulate a realm that only accounts for 0.00001% of the equation.
That makes the treadmill analogy suddenly carry so much more weight.
Right.
I mean, we are exhausting our cardiovascular systems trying to move a mountain by aggressively pushing against a single pebble.
That's a great way to put it.
So if the physical world is merely this tiny fraction, what is the actual functional relationship between this hardened physical environment and that massive non-physical realm?
Well, the relationship is strictly sequential, which requires us to completely redefine cause and effect.
Okay, how so?
The outer physical world strictly follows the lead of the inner non-physical world. It is never the other way around.
Never.
Never. Your current physical reality, the number in the checking account, the status of your relationships, the title on your office door is simply an energetic history.
An energetic history.
Yeah, it is a delayed printout of your past thoughts, past emotional states, and past internal focus.
A delayed printout. Man, that is a highly functional way to visualize it.
Right.
It brings to mind like an archaic office fax machine.
Oh yeah, the noisy ones.
Exactly. The machine finally spits out a printed document 10 minutes after the data was actually transmitted over the phone lines.
Right.
And you are standing there reading the paper, perhaps getting incredibly angry at the text on the page, but the source of the message was transmitted way earlier from an entirely different location.
And yelling at the paper rolling out of the fax machine does absolutely nothing to change the origin of the transmission.
Obviously not.
Complaining about the printout cannot alter the machine that sent it.
Yeah.
And the texts actually utilize a very specific tactile analogy to cement this idea, the Lego factory.
Oh, I loved this part. The Lego factory visual is crucial for understanding the futility of our daily hustle.
It really is.
So imagine you are desperately trying to change your life. Your current physical reality is represented by a hard, plastic, sharp-edged Lego brick.
The classic 2x4 brick.
Yeah, and you are holding this rigid brick in your bare hands. You decide you want your life to take a different shape.
Okay.
So relying on the old paradigm of physical effort, you start squeezing the brick.
Ouch.
Right. You are pressing your thumbs as hard as you can into the sharp little studs on top.
But
You are attempting to bend hardened plastic through sheer brute force.
and the result of that physical exertion is entirely predictable.
It results in genuine physical pain.
Yeah, you're just hurting yourself.
It leaves deep, red, throbbing indents in the skin of your thumbs, and the brick itself does not change its shape by a single millimeter
Not at all.
because it is already physically formed. It has already cooled and set.
Exactly.
And that is the exact equivalent of what we are doing when we hustle and grind against our current unyielding circumstances. We are trying to bend a rigid Lego brick with our bare hands.
So the strategy has to pivot away from the physical object.
Right.
Instead of sitting in your kitchen crying over the bricks you currently possess or, bloodying your knuckles trying to mold them, the secret lies in understanding the supply chain.
Okay, the supply chain.
You need to walk around to the back door of the Lego factory. That factory represents the non-physical realm, that 99.9%.
Right, that energy.
You walk into the administrative office of the factory, and you place an order for an entirely new mold.
So you design a new brick from scratch in the conceptual design room, rather than fighting a brick that has already cooled and hardened on the assembly line.
Exactly. You utilize your internal focus, your visualizations, and your highly concentrated emotional energy to submit the requisition form.
And then what?
Well, the factory then begins the intricate process of creating that new brick. Because it requires an incubation period for non-physical energy to condense and harden into physical form, you must wait.
Right, the delay.
But eventually, that new brick will pop out onto the conveyor belt of your physical reality.
Okay, so I understand the theoretical elegance of this, but we need to address the glaring friction point here.
Let's hear it.
Let's place ourselves back at that kitchen table from our morning scenario.
Okay.
Sitting right there on the placemat is a stack of past due electricity bills. The envelopes are stamped with threatening red ink indicating a final notice.
Stressful.
Incredibly stressful. If someone listening has an empty pantry and impending shutoff notices right now, telling them their physical reality is just a rounding error. I mean, it comes across as dismissive.
I completely understand why it sounds that way.
Oh, right. The anxiety they feel is physiological. You cannot just decide not to feel panic when your power is about to be cut.
No, you can't.
So do these papers actually provide a biological mechanism for overriding that immediate threat response without resorting to pure delusion? Because the utility company does not care about an energetic history.
They definitely don't.
They demand a physical check.
That is the most rigorous and necessary challenge to this paradigm. And it's great you brought it up because the texts anticipate this exact pushback.
Oh, they do?
Yes. The distinction they draw is between physical management and emotional investment.
Okay, break that down.
The philosophy is not advocating for delusion or the ignoring of physical obligations. You absolutely must manage the physical world.
Okay, good.
You write the check, you negotiate with the utility company on the phone, you handle the immediate physical requirement.
Right, you pay the bill if you can.
Exactly. However, the crucial deviation from normal human behavior is that you do not obsess over it. You divorce your internal emotional state from the physical action of managing the deficit.
So the goal is to handle the present physical reality mechanically, but refuse to let that reality serve as the architectural blueprint for your future.
That is the precise mechanism. You acknowledge the threatening red ink on the bill as simply the manifestation of past choices. It is the old, hardened Lego brick.
Right.
You process it. But you aggressively protect your creative emotional energy.
Because if you don't...
If you sit at that kitchen table and allow the red ink to flood your nervous system with cortisol, fear, and a profound sensation of lack, you are committing a critical error.
You're ordering more bad bricks.
Exactly. You are actively walking into the back room of the non-physical factory, handing the foreman a blueprint of poverty, and submitting an urgent order for them to manufacture more of these exact same terrifying bills.
Wow. So by obsessing over the current negative reality, I am unknowingly setting up an auto-renew subscription for future crises.
An auto-renew subscription, yes, exactly.
That reframes the stakes of a Tuesday morning panic attack, honestly.
It makes it a lot more critical to manage.
It does. If we recognize that we must order new, better bricks, the logical next step is identifying what automated systems are currently sitting in the control room of our minds, blindly placing these disastrous orders without our conscious consent.
Which requires us to examine the sheer, overwhelming volume of processing occurring in the human brain.
Right.
And the automated filtering systems evolution has installed to keep us from short-circuiting.
Yeah, and the statistics regarding our cognitive baseline are just daunting.
They are.
The materials highlight that the average human being processes tens of thousands of thoughts every single day.
A massive amount of data.
The universally cited estimate hovers around 60,000 individual thoughts, but the critical data point isn't the volume, it is the repetition.
This is the scary part.
Yeah, upwards of 95% of those 60,000 thoughts are the exact same thoughts the person had yesterday and the day before that.
We operate on a highly efficient, deeply entrenched mental treadmill. We are constructing our reality on autopilot.
Just copy-pasting yesterday.
Exactly. And due to the evolutionary wiring of the human nervous system, which inherently prioritizes threat detection to ensure physical survival, this autopilot is rarely programmed for joy, expansion, or abundance.
Right, it's looking for tigers in the bushes.
By default, it is strictly programmed to continually scan for danger, thereby recreating baseline states of anxiety, stress, and lack.
So we are submitting 60,000 orders to the factory every single day, and the vast majority of them are bulk orders for frustration.
Unfortunately, yes.
If my conscious mind agrees to stop worrying, but I still feel dread in my stomach, there must be a mechanism overriding my choices.
There is.
How do we bypass this autopilot? The material uses an intriguing visual to explain how our brain filters all this sensory data. The bouncer at the nightclub.
Oh, the nightclub analogy is a highly effective way to visualize cognitive filtering.
I thought so too.
Specifically, how we enforce our own core beliefs. So imagine a highly exclusive, chaotic, sensory-rich nightclub.
Okay, loud music, flashing lights.
Right. This club represents your conscious awareness, the tiny fraction of reality you actually perceive, process, and experience on a daily basis.
Got it.
Standing outside the velvet rope of this club is a massive, utterly uncompromising bouncer.
Yeah, I picture a monolithic figure in a tight black suit, arms crossed, staring blankly at the crowd, completely impervious to bribery or negotiation.
That is the exact psychological profile of this bouncer. Now, this bouncer holds a very specific clipboard.
Okay.
Clipped to the board is the guest list. This guest list is comprised entirely of your deeply held, subconsciously ingrained core beliefs.
Okay, so my beliefs are the VIP list.
Exactly. The bouncer's only job is to protect your conscious mind from being overwhelmed by the billions of bits of sensory data hitting your retinas and eardrums every second.
Because otherwise we'd go crazy.
Right, so the bouncer operates on a strict matching protocol. He only unhooks the velvet rope for experiences, opportunities, and observations that perfectly match the exact wording of the beliefs written on his clipboard.
Okay, let's apply this to a functional scenario just to see how it plays out.
Let's do it.
Suppose one of the core beliefs permanently inked on that clipboard is, I am fundamentally unlucky and the economy is rigged against me.
A very common belief set.
Right. Now imagine a genuinely lucrative, positive career opportunity walks right up to the velvet rope.
Okay.
It is viable, it is within your skill set, and it is ready to enter your life. What is the bouncer's protocol?
Well, the bouncer observes the opportunity, he consults the clipboard, he scans for the belief regarding career and luck.
And what does he see?
He reads, I am fundamentally unlucky. He looks back at the lucrative opportunity, notes the discrepancy, and states, you are not on the list.
Just like that.
Just like that. He turns the opportunity away. And crucially, he does not inform you that he turned it away.
Right, really?
Yeah. The opportunity is entirely filtered out of your cognitive processing. It walks right past you on the street or sits plainly in your inbox, and your conscious mind never even registers its existence.
Wow. We are somewhat familiar with the concept of the reticular activating system and confirmation bias. But these sources frame this filtering system as completely unforgiving.
It really is.
Our brains physically blind us to information that contradicts our core beliefs just to maintain a consistent internal worldview.
Precisely.
We see mundane examples of this cognitive filtering constantly.
Right.
Consider the classic new car phenomenon.
Oh, everyone has experienced this.
Right. You spend months saving and you finally decide you're going to purchase a highly specific vehicle.
Right.
Let's say a silver hatchback, perhaps a specific make and model. After extensive research, you make the internal decision. You have officially added silver hatchback to your mental clipboard.
Okay, so the bouncer has the update.
Exactly. What occurs over the next 48 hours?
Your external environment appears to be suddenly overrun with silver hatchbacks.
They are ubiquitous. You smell the distinct scent of that specific car's exhaust idling next to you at a red light.
Yeah.
You catch the specific gleam of its silver paint reflecting the afternoon sun in the furthest corner of a crowded grocery store parking lot.
Everywhere you look.
You notice them starring in background shots of television shows you were watching. Now, did the manufacturing plants suddenly increase global production by 10,000% overnight merely because you made a purchasing decision?
Of course not.
The
The physical reality did not alter its composition.
Right.
The vehicles were always present in your environment. They were driving past you on the highway every day.
We just didn't see them?
Exactly. Because prior to your decision, the bouncer guarding the club of your awareness did not have silver hatchback written on the guest list.
So he just ignored them?
He systematically ignored them, filtering them out as irrelevant background noise.
Yeah.
But the instant you updated the clipboard, the bouncer adjusted his parameters.
And opened the rope.
He began unhooking the velvet rope and ushering every silver hatchback straight into your conscious perception.
So you issued a direct command to your mental bouncer to finally permit that specific reality into your awareness.
Yes.
The critical question then becomes, how do we intentionally rewrite the clipboard?
That's the hard part.
If these core beliefs are so deeply embedded and automatic, how do we erase the old list and write a new one?
Well, the texts transition from the nightclub to a much more arduous environment to explain the process of neural rewiring.
Okay, there too.
The overgrown jungle.
Ah, the jungle.
The jungle analogy provides a visceral understanding of why changing our core beliefs feels so physically and emotionally draining.
Because it's exhausting.
It is. Imagine your subconscious mind is a vast, dense, ancient tropical jungle.
Okay.
A familiar negative thought pattern, for instance. The chronic belief that I will never get out of debt is represented by a wide, smoothly paved, multi-lane highway cutting straight through the center of that jungle.
Easy to drive on.
Very easy. You've driven down this highway tens of thousands of times over the course of your adult life.
Yeah.
The brush is cleared, the asphalt is flat, and the route is perfectly optimized. It requires absolutely zero cognitive effort to travel this road.
It was the default.
Exactly. When a minor inconvenience occurs during your day, your brain instantly routes your emotional response down this paved highway because it is the ultimate path of least resistance.
We are well acquainted with the neurological axiom that neurons that fire together wire together.
Right.
But what is deeply fascinating here is the text's focus on the mechanics of building a new path.
Yeah.
It is not a matter of simply deciding to take a different road. Let's say you decide to install a brand new, empowering belief. Financial opportunities flow to me effortlessly.
A great belief to have.
Sure, but in the dense jungle of your current neural architecture, there is no road for this belief yet.
None.
To walk this new path, you are forced to stand at the edge of the paved highway, facing a wall of thick, impassable, thorny vines.
It's intimidating.
And you are holding a heavy, dull machete, and you must begin physically hacking away at the overgrowth.
And the process is intensely hostile.
Yeah.
Your mental muscles ache, the psychological thorns scratch and tear at your resolve.
It's like muscle memory. When you hear a specific song from your childhood, you instantly feel the sticky summer heat and taste the cherry popsicle you were eating. You don't have to force the memory. The pathway is paved.
Exactly. The old path is effortless. But the new path, you manage to hack your way 2 feet into the brush, and the sheer exhaustion makes you want to drop the machete, turn around, and walk back to the smooth, comfortable highway of your familiar self-doubt.
Because the old anxiety is comfortable because it is predictable.
Perfectly said.
Yeah.
This illustrates exactly why the failure rate for personal transformation is so high.
People give up.
People attempt to change their mindset for 3 days, they grow weary of swinging the heavy machete against the vines, and they quit. They retreat to the paved road.
Right.
But the methodology outlined in these documents relies on a fundamental principle of passive destruction.
Passive destruction. That is the secret engine of neural rewiring.
Yes, it is.
If you consciously, stubbornly, and repeatedly refuse to walk down the old negative paved road, the jungle reclaims it.
You do not have to actively destroy the old belief. You simply have to starve it of traffic.
Starve it of traffic. Wow.
Precisely. If you cease traveling the path of chronic anxiety, the vines of the jungle naturally begin to creep over the asphalt.
Just nature taking over.
Yep. The roots systematically break up the pavement. The dense canopy closes over the road, blocking out the light.
Oh.
And simultaneously, as you commit to hacking away at the new path of abundance with your machete day after agonizing day, that new path gradually widens.
The dirt gets packed down by your repeated footsteps.
Eventually, a profound structural shift occurs. The new path becomes the effortlessly paved road.
And the old highway of anxiety is completely swallowed by the overgrown jungle, rendered inaccessible.
Exactly.
So, understanding how the bouncer filters reality and accepting that we must endure the exhaustion of hacking through the jungle provides us with a really solid theoretical foundation.
It does.
But we cannot just swing our machetes aimlessly into the brush and hope we end up somewhere beautiful.
No, you just get lost.
Exactly. How do we hack this new road toward a highly specific, desired destination?
Well, the material transitions from theory into a rigid, highly practical map for execution.
Okay, let's get into the practical side.
The texts introduce a highly systematized framework designed to harness your cognitive output. And the central governing principle of this framework is a concept referred to as concentrated particle flow.
Concentrated particle flow. That sounds like fluid dynamics applied to human attention.
It essentially is.
The underlying premise is that reality manipulation does not occur through scattered, whimsical hoping.
Right.
You cannot casually wish for a paradigm shift while idly waiting in line for a coffee.
No, it demands absolute laser-like focus of your internal energetic output.
Okay, break that down for me.
If we accept the premise that non-physical energy shapes the physical realm, we must recognize that energy acts like a physical resource.
Meaning it's finite.
In a way, yes. You cannot afford to have your energy dispersed across a dozen different anxieties and half-hearted desires.
Right.
A scattered, fragmented mind invariably manifests a chaotic, fragmented physical reality.
It really calls to mind the mechanics of attempting to keep a collection of houseplants alive.
Oh, good analogy.
Imagine you possess a small watering can containing just enough water to deeply, thoroughly nourish one single plant.
Okay.
But instead of focusing on one pot, you walk aimlessly around your living room, lightly misting 20 different pots.
What happens?
The result is total failure. The topsoil barely gets damp, the light mist evaporates into the air within minutes, and the roots receive absolutely nothing.
And nothing grows?
Nothing grows. You have squandered the resource. To see a sprout break the surface of the soil, you must take that entire watering can, carry it to one specific pot, and pour every single drop onto one solitary seed, completely saturating the soil around it.
That is an exact representation of concentrated particle flow.
Yeah.
You must pour your cognitive, emotional, and psychological water onto a singular defined point.
Okay, so how do we aim it?
To assist in aiming this flow, the sources outline a stringent four-step framework designed to narrow your focus from the infinite expanse of your life down to the granular actions of tomorrow morning.
Okay, let's dissect these 4 steps because the psychology behind their sequence is really brilliant.
Let's do it.
Step 1 is the apex. It is labeled the dream.
The dream represents your ultimate, massive, overarching life goal.
The big one.
This is the distant mountaintop.
Yeah.
However, there is a critical, highly counterintuitive rule governing the selection of the dream.
Which is?
You must have absolutely zero idea how to actually achieve it.
Okay, wait. I want to push back on that immediately because traditional goal-setting literature demands realism and actionable metrics.
Yes, SMART goals.
Exactly. We are taught to use SMART goals. If I don't know how to achieve it, isn't it just a fantasy? Why are these sources insisting on total ignorance of the mechanism?
Because if you already possess the logistical knowledge of all the required steps to get there, it is not a dream. It is merely a project.
Oh.
It is a logistical checklist. A true dream, in the context of reality creation, must exist beyond the current logical comprehension of your rational mind.
Okay.
It should feel slightly audacious, perhaps even impossible when analyzed through your current physical circumstances.
So what's its purpose then?
Its sole biological and energetic function is to generate pure, unadulterated excitement and passion. It serves as the North Star that aligns your internal compass.
Okay, so I established this massive, logically impossible dream that gets my heart racing and elevates my baseline emotional state.
Right.
But I cannot execute daily actions based on the impossible. How do we bridge the gap?
That requires step 2, which brings the frequency down to a more tangible elevation.
Which is?
This is the definite aim. The definite aim is a specific, measurable milestone established on the path toward the dream.
Okay, a milestone.
It typically carries a timeline of 6 to 12 months. Crucially, the rules of engagement shift entirely here.
How so?
While the aim must still generate excitement, your brain must completely, unequivocally believe that achieving it is physically possible within that time frame.
Oh, that distinction is paramount.
It is.
If there is subconscious doubt, the manifestation process flatlines.
Yes.
If an individual sets a definite aim to generate, say, $1 million in liquid capital within 6 months, but their subconscious mind is screaming in protest because their current checking account holds $47, they are introducing massive cognitive dissonance.
Right, they are diluting the water in the can.
Exactly. The bouncer at the club is going to look at that $1 million aim and just reject it at the door. The brain has to buy into the definite aim.
Doubt scatters the particle flow. It introduces turbulence into the system.
Yeah.
Therefore, the definite aim represents the psychological sweet spot. It must be highly exciting to pursue, yet completely rationally believable to your current bouncer.
Makes sense.
Once the aim is locked, we narrow the aperture further to step 3, the objective.
The objective operates on a much shorter runway, typically a 1 to 3 month target.
Exactly. It is a highly digestible chunk of the definite aim.
Okay.
The psychological purpose of the objective is to feel incredibly attainable. You should be able to look at the objective and think, if I apply focused effort, hitting this in 60 days is a statistical certainty.
Right.
Hitting these short-term objectives builds momentum. It establishes a track record of undeniable success within your own psyche, which systematically dismantles any lingering doubt about the larger process.
Which brings us to the final layer, step 4, which compresses the timeline from months right down to tonight. The daily action steps.
This is where you grab the machete and step into the jungle. Every single night before you sleep, you sit down with a piece of paper and you ask yourself one focusing question.
And that is?
What is the single best, most impactful action I can execute tomorrow to move the needle closer to my objective?
Just one thing.
You identify that one specific action, and it becomes your absolute priority for the following day.
So you construct this cascading architecture of focus. The dream provides the high-frequency passion, the definite aim provides the medium-term strategic direction, the objective provides the short-term tactical target, and the daily action step gives you your specific marching orders for Tuesday morning.
That's a perfect summary.
But there is a massive caveat attached to this entire 4-step process, a rule you touched upon regarding the dream, but which governs the entire system. We are instructed to completely, ruthlessly let go of the how.
Ah, yes. Abdicating control of the how is universally the most difficult psychological hurdle for individuals to clear.
Why is that?
The texts are unforgiving on this point. The specific mechanism of delivery is none of your business.
Okay, that's harsh.
It is. But when you attempt to dictate exactly how an opportunity must arrive in your life, you are forcing the infinite potential of the non-physical realm through a microscopic keyhole of your own limited, severely restricted imagination.
You're narrowing the possibilities.
You are effectively telling the universe, you are only permitted to deliver my financial freedom through a 5% raise at my current mid-level management job on this specific Thursday.
So you are attempting to micromanage the supply chain of the universe.
Yes.
But isn't ignoring the how just a recipe for passivity, though? If I just wait for the universe, aren't I just being lazy?
There is a vast difference between passivity and inspired action.
Okay.
You are executing your daily action steps with extreme prejudice. You are working,
Right.
but you are unattached to exactly which action yields the massive result. By releasing the how, you stop blinding yourself to the hundreds of other, potentially faster, vastly more joyful pathways that could intersect with your goal.
I see.
Your responsibility is strictly confined to defining the what and generating the why. You hold the emotional frequency of the end result, and you allow the broader system to handle the complex mechanics of physical delivery.
Okay, let's examine the timeline of this process. If an individual rigorously applies this framework, they hold the dream, they execute the daily actions, they maintain laser focus, pouring all their water on that single seed, and they successfully stay out of the universe's way regarding the how does the material provide any empirical indication of how long the incubation period lasts?
People always want to know how long it takes.
Right. Human beings are inherently impatient. We crave the microwave result.
The materials actually do provide a highly specific recurring metric regarding the timeline.
What is it?
The studies suggest that if an individual can maintain a state of true, unwavering, concentrated particle flow, it typically requires an incubation period of 6 to 8 weeks for massive nonlinear shifts to begin materializing in their physical reality.
6 to 8 weeks. In the grand scheme of a human lifespan, that is an incredibly brief period. It is barely a change of season.
It is remarkably rapid. But this timeline refers to a point of critical mass.
Meaning?
It represents the exact moment when the accumulated pressure in the non-physical realm finally condenses, cracks the surface, and erupts into the physical realm. The old reality structure buckles, and the new reality emerges.
There is a recognizable pattern in these cognitive studies regarding that exact moment.
Yes, there is.
I want to issue a massive warning for anyone absorbing this information right now, because right at this juncture is where the process goes violently sideways for the vast majority of people.
It really does.
Just before that 6 to 8 week mark hits, right when the concentrated particle flow is reaching absolute critical mass, right when your physical life is teetering on the precipice of a total paradigm shift, something absolutely terrifying usually occurs.
The texts identify this phenomenon as the inevitable storm. The underlying logic is brutal but necessary. In order to ascend to an entirely new level of physical reality, the old physical structures must completely collapse.
Makes sense.
You cannot drag your old baggage, your outdated circumstances, and your restrictive comfort zones into a newly elevated reality. The architectural framework of the new life simply cannot support the weight of the old one.
So the breakdown is the prerequisite for the breakthrough.
Exactly.
Let's ground this in an agonizingly relatable real-life scenario because this dynamic plays out constantly.
Okay, let's hear it.
Let's say you have been doing the rigorous internal work. You have established a definite aim, focused intensely on attracting a passionate, fulfilling, deeply aligned romantic relationship.
Okay.
You are visualizing the dynamic. You are holding the emotional frequency of being valued. You are consistently pouring your cognitive water on that specific seed.
Doing everything right.
Everything. And then week 5 rolls around. You are nearing critical mass. Suddenly, out of nowhere, your current, admittedly mediocre but highly comfortable relationship violently detonates.
Oh, wow.
It falls apart in a spectacular, traumatic fashion. You are suddenly sitting alone on the floor of an empty apartment, feeling utterly terrified, abandoned, and just drowning in heartbreak.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
Yeah.
And how does the average human nervous system interpret that sudden collapse?
The nervous system interprets it as a catastrophic failure of the entire philosophy.
Yep.
The individual thinks, I did the formula wrong. The universe is actively punishing me. I engaged in concentrated particle flow, and I manifested an absolute disaster.
Right.
In a state of sheer panic, they scramble, they text their ex late at night, they compromise their boundaries, they beg to restore the old dynamic, they run as fast as humanly possible back to the safety of the mediocre comfort zone.
And the tragic irony is that the moment they retreat, the storm dissipates.
The immediate chaos subsides.
So does their evolutionary growth. They have successfully aborted their own quantum leap. They failed to recognize that the universe was simply clearing the necessary physical floor space required to bring in the passionate relationship they had actively ordered from the factory.
Wow.
You cannot furnish a living room with brand new, custom-built furniture if you stubbornly refuse to throw out the rotting, broken couch that is currently occupying the center of the room.
In retrospect, the logic holds, but in the present moment of the collapse, it doesn't feel like a breakthrough.
No, it feels like total destruction.
It feels like that heavy, electric, deeply unsettling drop in atmospheric pressure right before a massive summer thunderstorm break.
Oh, that's a great comparison.
You know the exact physical sensation. The air turns thick. The sky shifts to a bruised, eerie, yellowish-green hue.
Yeah, the calm before the storm.
Exactly. The wind suddenly whips up the dust from the street, violently bending the trees backward. Every single instinct encoded in your evolutionary biology is screaming at you to run, to seek immediate shelter, to hide under the covers and make the chaos stop.
And the panic is visceral and survival-based.
Yes.
Because the brain cannot distinguish between an emotional threat to a comfort zone and a physical threat to your life.
Right.
So the sources provide a highly specific cognitive tool to deploy when you are standing in the middle of that howling wind. They refer to them as storm breakers.
Storm breakers. Those operate essentially as cognitive anchors, correct? Mantras designed to interrupt the emotional spiral.
They are emergency intervention protocols for the mind.
Okay.
When the chaos hits, when the relationship abruptly ends, or the critical project collapses, or the car engine explodes, you must consciously and aggressively intervene in your own thought process.
What do you say?
You quietly, firmly, and repeatedly remind yourself, everything is unfolding in my favor. It will be this or something vastly better.
Okay, I have to attack this specific mantra on behalf of the listener.
Fair enough.
Because everything is unfolding in my favor sounds dangerously close to toxic positivity.
It can sound that way, yeah.
Yeah. It is incredibly difficult to look in the mirror and utter those words when you have just been called into a sterile, fluorescent-lit HR office on a Tuesday afternoon and abruptly laid off from your primary source of income.
True.
When you are walking out to your car, carrying your personal possessions in a cardboard box, feeling the intense humiliation, the rising panic in your chest, and the terrifying uncertainty of how you are going to cover next month's rent. Forcing yourself to say, this is unfolding in my favor, feels like you are gaslighting yourself. It feels like a delusion.
That pushback is entirely valid.
Yeah.
To the conscious mind, which is currently flooded with cortisol and terrified of the immediate existential threat regarding shelter and food, it absolutely feels like a lie.
Right, because the fear in that parking lot is real. The anxiety about the rent check is a valid physical concern.
However, the materials argue that this exact moment is the ultimate crucible of the entire philosophy.
The crucible.
Yes. Holding that emotional center and stubbornly refusing to descend into a state of absolute victimized despair is the exact energetic mechanism that maintains the vacuum.
Maintaining the vacuum. Explain that dynamic.
Well, when you lose the job, a physical and energetic vacuum is created in your life. Nature abhors a vacuum. It will rush to fill it.
Okay.
If you immediately fill that vacuum with panic, victimhood, and a frantic desperation to grab the first terrible job you can find just to feel safe, you are rapidly paving the old road in the jungle.
You are submitting an order to the factory for more anxiety.
Exactly. If, however, you hold the center, if you use the storm breaker to anchor your mind and refuse to drop your frequency, you keep the vacuum open.
You keep the new road clear.
The mantra is not about pretending you aren't scared.
Yeah.
It is a functional tool to prevent you from rebuilding the old structure.
So it is an active refusal to let the very real fear become the architect of your next physical reality. You acknowledge the presence of the storm, you feel the wind, but you refuse to let it capsize the ship. You are placing a radical trust in the premise that the violent demolition of the old building is merely the necessary first phase of constructing the new skyscraper.
And the ultimate test of holding this emotional center, the specific arena where human beings struggle the most to trust this unseen delayed printout process, almost invariably comes down to one highly charged, deeply emotional metric.
Let me guess. Our finances.
Exactly. Money.
Money. It is the ultimate energetic mirror, and it brings us to the final and arguably most consequential phase of our exploration, transforming the internal frequency of value and financial flow.
It's a huge topic.
It is. Most of us operate under an incredibly rigid, scarcity-based paradigm regarding money. We view it as dirty paper bills, heavy coins, or digital data glowing on a banking app that we must fiercely, anxiously guard.
Yeah.
We hoard it out of fear, we stress over its departure constantly, and we link our entire sense of safety to its accumulation.
And the sources propose a radical dismantling of that viewpoint.
Okay, what do they suggest?
They suggest that money is not inherently physical paper or digital data. Money, at its core, is simply an energetic medium of exchange. It is a current.
Current, like a river.
Yes. And because it is energy, it responds to the exact same laws of focus, emotional resonance, and concentrated particle flow that we have been analyzing.
So finances are not exempt from the rules of the non-physical factor.
Not at all.
To illustrate this, there is a brilliant conceptual framework from the text that totally rewired how I analyze my own financial reactions.
Oh, the two bank accounts.
Yes, the concept of the two bank accounts. The theory posits that every single one of us operates two distinct accounts simultaneously. We have a physical financial bank account, the literal numbers at the institution, and we have an internal emotional bank account.
And the dynamic interplay between these two accounts is where the vast majority of individuals create a self-perpetuating cycle of lack.
How so?
Consider the behavior of the average person when they check their banking app. Just like in our opening 6 a.m. scenario, and their physical financial account balance takes a sudden, sharp dip.
Right.
Perhaps an unexpected car repair hits, or a massive medical bill arrives in the mail.
Their internal emotional bank account immediately, violently crashes right alongside the financial one.
Every single time.
They see the low number on the digital screen, and instantly they bankrupt their own emotional state. They plunge into absolute emotional debt, flooded with feelings of panic, severe scarcity, and deep stress.
Yeah.
Their internal energetic state becomes a perfect, synchronized mirror image of their external financial lack.
Which, according to the strict laws of cause and effect we established with the Lego factory, guarantees a specific outcome.
Which is?
By mirroring the lack emotionally, you are sending a massive, highly concentrated signal of poverty back to the non-physical realm. You are ordering more lack.
That is rough.
Conversely, highly successful individuals, those who appear to manifest wealth with confusing ease, understand the natural, inevitable ebb and flow of resources.
Right.
They recognize that a wave must naturally pull back from the shore before it can crash forward again.
But it is incredibly counterintuitive to invest emotional capital when financial capital is depleted. How do they actually handle the dip without descending into panic?
When their physical financial account takes a hit, they intentionally, forcefully execute a massive deposit into their emotional account.
A massive deposit.
They actively and rigorously work to stay calm, joyful, and detached from the physical number. They absolutely refuse to allow the external metric to dictate their internal frequency.
Okay.
By keeping their internal emotional state elevated and vibrating at a frequency of abundance, the physical financial state is drawn upward. The physical must eventually rise to meet the energetic blueprint.
So they utilize their elevated emotional state as a winch to pull the financial state back up, rather than allowing the heavy financial state to drag their emotional state down into the abyss.
That's exactly.
That is a masterful reframe of leverage. But we need practical application. How does a person build that internal emotional wealth when their physical wealth is objectively tight?
The text offers several highly actionable habits, beginning with a fundamental law of improvement utilized in elite performance circles, the principle of measurement.
The principle of measurement states a simple truth. Whatever is closely measured, recorded, and monitored inevitably improves.
Yes.
Simply by placing your conscious, organized, positive attention on a specific metric, you begin to alter its trajectory.
Based on the texts, here's a functional challenge for anyone absorbing this. Try this experiment for 1 consecutive month.
Okay, I'm listening.
Procure a dedicated notebook or open a specific note on your phone and rigorously write down every single cent of financial value that enters your life.
Every single cent.
We are not just talking about your biweekly paycheck. If a relative sends you a $20 bill inside a birthday card, log it.
Right.
If you sell an old piece of furniture online, log it. If you find a discarded coin on the pavement, log it.
The purpose is not accounting. The purpose is cognitive training.
Exactly.
You are actively tracking the inflow of abundance regardless of its magnitude. You are forcing the bouncer at the club to constantly scan your environment for money moving toward you, thereby rewriting the clipboard.
And speaking of finding coins, there is a highly specific, seemingly mundane sensory detail the text examines that exposes our subconscious programming.
Oh, this part was eye-opening.
Picture yourself walking down a busy, loud city street. You happen to look down, and right there on the gray concrete, half stuck to the pavement, is a heavily tarnished, slightly sticky, dirty penny.
Ooh, okay.
What is the immediate reaction of 99% of the population?
They walk directly past it. They likely do not even break their stride.
Right.
Consciously, their rational brain dismisses it. It is merely a penny. It is covered in grime. It possesses zero purchasing power. It is absolutely not worth the physical effort to bend down and retrieve it.
But the texts argue that the physical value of the coin is irrelevant. Energetically, what signal are you broadcasting to the non-physical factory when you deliberately step over that penny?
You are transmitting a subconscious, highly resonant signal that you turn your nose up at abundance.
Yes.
You are declaring, I am too good for this money. I reject this flow of wealth.
The material is absolutely adamant on this protocol. You must stop walking and pick it up.
The underlying logic is that the universe, the non-physical realm, does not comprehend the mathematical difference between a dirty penny on the sidewalk and a crisp, newly minted $100 bill.
It does not perform accounting.
Right. It only reads your energetic frequency. It only
Yeah.
registers your state of acceptance or your state of rejection.
Exactly.
By bending down and claiming the penny, you are explicitly instructing your mental bouncer. Yes, I actively welcome abundance in all its physical forms.
You wipe the grime off the penny, you slide it into your pocket, and you register in your mind as a victory. Acknowledging the inflow is vital.
It is.
However, this attitude of welcoming must also extend to a profound daily habit regarding how we dispense money. The texts emphasize a practice of radical gratitude.
Radical gratitude. This is perhaps the most transformative shift in financial psychology.
It really is.
Humans are generally pleased when money arrives, but we experience a sharp spike of resentment, fear, or anger when it leaves our bank accounts.
To maintain a fluid, unimpeded current of energy, you must learn to express genuine gratitude when money departs.
Okay, let's revisit the anxiety-inducing electricity bill from our initial morning scenario.
The one stamped in threatening red ink.
Right. Instead of allowing your stomach to knot up with a sharp sting of resentment when you click Submit Payment on your banking app, you implement a paradigm shift.
So what do?
You stop the automated reaction.
Yeah.
You pause. You stand in your kitchen and you actually listen to your environment for 3 seconds. You hear the low, steady, reliable hum of your refrigerator. You internalize the fact that it is keeping your fresh produce perfectly cold. preventing your food from spoiling. You walk over to the kitchen sink, you turn a small metal knob, and instantly, miraculously, clean, pressurized, hot running water pours over your hands.
You are forcing your brain to recognize the immense, tangible value you are receiving in exchange for the departing currency.
Yes. You say thank you to the money as it leaves your account. You actively bless the transaction. You recognize that you are participating in a modern, astonishing miracle of infrastructure. And your currency is the specific energy that grants you access to it.
It changes everything.
You transition your internal state from one of resentful, fearful loss to a state of profound, abundant appreciation.
By executing that cognitive shift, you completely neutralize the dense, negative ball of anxiety you previously associated with paying bills.
Right.
You replace the frequency of fear with the frequency of gratitude. Gratitude is the ultimate state of abundance because you cannot feel grateful for something unless you already possess it.
That makes perfect sense.
This practice naturally segues into the final defining characteristic of mastering financial energy, reducing its ultimate significance.
Detachment. It is the complex psychological art of deeply wanting something without desperately needing it.
Precisely. You desire the expansion that wealth provides, but you absolutely refuse to make money your master.
Right.
You do not place it on a psychological pedestal and worship it as the exclusive source of your internal happiness, your self-worth, or your sense of safety.
Because when you operate from a state of desperation for money, when you emit a frantic frequency of neediness, you energetically repel it.
Neediness is the ultimate state of lack. It broadcasts continuous signals screaming, "I do not have this, I am empty."
The mechanics of it are exactly like human dating dynamics.
Absolutely.
If you go on a first date and you reek of absolute, unvarnished desperation, clinging to every word the other person says, acting as though your very survival depends on them liking you, they're going to sense that heavy, suffocating energy and run for the hills.
Financial energy operates on the exact same wavelength.
You want to cultivate an internal energy that says, I welcome this wealth, I deeply enjoy what it provides, but if the specific transaction doesn't clear today, my internal emotional baseline remains completely whole, secure, and fine without it.
This lack of neediness, this cool, centered detachment, makes you magnetically attractive to opportunities. You cease being the frantic moth chasing the light, and you become the flame itself.
It is an incredibly delicate, sophisticated balance to strike, maintaining an intense, concentrated particle flow toward your definite aim, while simultaneously holding a state of complete emotional detachment from the immediate day-to-day physical outcome.
It's the ultimate paradox.
But when an individual masters that specific equilibrium, they truly step off the treadmill. They exit the slow lane of exhausting physical force.
Which brings us to a much broader reflection on the entirety of what we have unpacked during this session.
Yeah, let's zoom out.
We initiated this exploration by examining a very mundane, highly relatable struggle. Waking up in the dark, dreading the sound of the alarm clock, and feeling hopelessly trapped in a rigid, unyielding routine.
We operated under the assumption that we were fragile, purely physical beings, forced to hustle for scraps inside a massive machine that was entirely indifferent to our existence.
But the profound paradigm shift offered by synthesizing these materials is the realization that the exhaustion and the confusion stem from a fundamental misunderstanding of our own inherent architecture.
We are not trapped inside the machine.
No, we are the ones feeding the blueprints into it.
When we commit to the grueling work of taming our inner jungle, actively hacking away the dense vines of old, inherited doubts to pave new neural highways of belief, when we learn to utilize storm breakers to hold our emotional center during the inevitable, terrifying collapses that precede growth, and when we alter our frequency by treating the physical world right down to the sticky, discarded pennies on the pavement with a radical, detached gratitude, we completely rewrite the underlying code of our lives.
We permanently stop trying to bloody our hands bending the hardened Lego brick.
Exactly. And we finally walk into the back room to start placing intentional orders at the factory.
We reclaim ownership of the 99.9% of our reality that actually dictates the outcome.
Yeah.
We begin to understand that the external physical world is nothing more than an obedient, delayed mirror, faithfully reflecting whatever emotional and cognitive frequency we continuously hold in front of it.
As we conclude this audio analysis, I want to leave you with a final lingering thought. It is something to chew on as you navigate the rest of your day, perhaps as you stand in the kitchen pouring your next cup of coffee.
I love a good final thought.
We have established that your physical reality is highly malleable if you master the internal energy. But if we actually achieve this mastery, if we learn to perfectly tune our frequency so that our lives become a smooth, uninterrupted flow of manifested desires, and we no longer have to face storms we didn't consciously order, what happens to the human spirit? If the friction is completely removed, do we risk losing the very resilience, the grit, and the hard-won character that makes the human experience deeply meaningful in the first place? It's a question of whether the struggle itself was the point all along. Keep your focus sharp, watch the bouncer at your mental door, and we will talk again soon.